Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for Episode 8, Week 7 of Survivor 42. I realize I'm throwing out a lot of numbers to you at the moment, and it's a numbers game we're playing as the jury is beginning. The other side of tribal councils starting to fill up like a hearty meal of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with some thick-ass bread, and we have a thick-ass panel to break down everything going on this week. You know, Jeff Probst said I couldn't have two. I negotiated my way to get two people on this panel. First and foremost is the co-owner of the B&B, Liana Boraas. Liana, how are you?
Doing fabulous. I'm happy that, yes, we are with our wet-ass jelly. We're here to talk about the episode of Survivor.
Not wet-ass jelly.
It's a wadge.
Oh, no. Don't call it a wedge.
You started it.
Now I'm trying to think what would be like Tori B. I'm trying to think of like who is like Mikey the Stallion.
Oh my God, not Mike of all people. I'm here for it.
Well, hopefully this guest, I think we actually picked the perfect time to bring in these references. I think he'd be able to fill in the blanks here. We are so happy to welcome this guy in time and time again, whether it's this or any other type of podcast. Of course, the great Chappell is here. All right, Chappell, who's who in the WAP universe that we just came up with?
I don't know, but when Liana said "wedge," I creamed, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
No, you can't say
ready.
that.
Just like the milk you get with the peanut butter and jelly.
Exactly.
Wait, I don't think they got milk. Did they get milk?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes they do.
I guess you only get milk if you're underage.
Right. Yes. Okay. I think everyone's legal that's left.
Yeah, exactly. So no, Zach Yes Wurtenberger would have to be
guzzling
guzzling that milk for tips.
Look, Zach Wurtenberger made my year. Like that's all I needed. I'm so sad that he went home first because I was texting Liana and I text you, Mike, too. I was like, "What the fuck? I love this guy." Like Zach Wurtenberger. Yes, burn the house down.
Talk about a wadge. Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
feels
so
good to be here.
Here we are, 8 episodes into Survivor 42. We're more than the halfway mark, and you know the game has reached a new phase, as Jeff likes to call it. We got a little bit of the old stuff with the old advantage found under the bench. Got a little bit of the new stuff, including reaching your hand, speaking of more wetness, into a full-ass tube of paint to get an advantage. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Chappell, we last heard you talking about Survivor in a major capacity when you were on with Rob all the way back in episode 1. Feels like a literal age ago. What have you thought about where Survivor 42 has gone between then and now?
I think it just went back in the past. It's 41 again, and Jeff is going to remind us that 2 or 3 times an episode. This was so weird how he's like, "Let me break the fourth wall or whatever, and tell you that we did this last season. But also after the commercial break, I'm going to do that one more time. Just going to remind you, in case you didn't see the last season, that we definitely did this again." And like, how many times are we going to do this? We have other advantages coming soon that we know about, right? Like we know the do or die thing is coming. As you know, we have a couple other twists. Is Jeff just going to keep doing this throughout the season? Just keep saying like, "Hey, remember back in 41 where we had 3 people at the final tribal council?" You know, like
I feel like he was able to restrain himself for only so long, you know, because we didn't really see it until last week, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh my gosh, guys, let's break the fourth wall again." And we're breaking the fourth wall again. It was like someone was able to temper his expectations, but it only lasted a few episodes.
Yeah, but the odd thing is he was talking to us, but like he was also advising us / warning us. Specifically that message, right, about like, "Hey, if you little assholes think what I'm going to do next, you got another thing coming because this monster's going to be even hungrier this next time around, okay? It's not going to be a complete copy-paste."
I love the consistency with the monster. Yeah, like the monster will be back. You don't know what the monster is going to bring in future seasons. Okay.
He is sick. He is sick of our shit. He's like, "Stop trying to game the system, you son of a bitch. You're not gonna figure out these twists. Goddamn. I'm changing them next year. If you think we're doing a fire making twist, wait till we do a water making twist. Then what are you gonna do?"
They're like, "Good luck." That's a chemist. Like, get into the lab. Everyone get your goggles on. Start making water.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny. And then even also with the advantage when he was hiding it, he was like, and if no one finds it, I'm gonna be pissed. Okay,
Yeah, what,
sorry, we're
wait.
not even here.
I'm slowly
Oh my
realizing,
God.
like, yeah, what was going on with Jeff in this episode? Like, he was, for some reason, getting a little angry at us. It was not our fault that Xander didn't find it last
Yeah.
time.
I love it because next season someone's gonna sit out and they're gonna be sitting on that bench and they're gonna be looking for it, and Jeff's gonna break the fourth wall and gonna be like, "See, every year we're not doing the same exact thing, dummy." And I'm like, "Okay, Jeff, we get it." Gosh, get your foot off
Yeah.
my neck.
How could you be so stupid to look for another advantage this year?
Stop looking for advantages, dummy. Like,
Yeah,
you
what
got
if well, underneath it this time around is a bunch of red paint, and they just get
Exactly.
splattered with it. It's like, oh, you idiot! You thought there was an advantage under
Oh my
there?
God.
Now what are you gonna tell the
Yes.
tribe?
It's like one of those when you shoplift, like one of those dye packets when you try
Yes.
to shoplift. That's what it's gonna be. That's like the next beware advantage. Is you don't stick your hand in something, you open it, and all of a sudden you're covered in red paint.
Oh my God, are you bleeding? No, I was just painting. Painting what? Just my body at the challenge. Yeah, like
That was I loved that so much. I just love anything that like the phrases that allows you to like kind of explain why you're doing stupid things and immediately drawing eyes to yourself. And yeah, it's odd that it was red. I know it speaks on the phrase caught literally red-handed, but to your point, it does have Tori be like, "Oh my God, you're like bleeding on the arm. What the hell happened to you?" And of course, Drea just completely stone-faced, like, "No, it's fine. I was painting. Go away."
leave me alone.
They had a discount on red paint because it's this like they were, or maybe this is a situation where they had the blood from the very first challenge or the first, amulet thing or whatever. And
Mhm.
then they just didn't know what to do. They were like, oh crap, we should probably use this. What are we gonna do with 50 gallons of paint?
Do you think it's coming back though? Like, are we gonna use the red paint one more time? You do the what is it, the do or die thing, and like, oh yeah, if you flip this one over, it's an idol. If you flip this one, it's just red paint.
It's like Nickelodeon. You get
Yeah.
gooed.
It's like, oh,
Slimed,
you're
gooed.
slimy people.
Who calls it
You get
gooed?
gacked. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, slimed, but the Survivor version of that, which in my head is goo or
I
blood.
like it, yeah.
But I don't know, but
guess.
does CBS Viacom merger, they can use the term slimed.
It's true.
That is true.
It's true.
That is
That's
true.
true.
I do think we need to combine Survivor and the Kids' Choice Awards. I feel like there is not enough Venn diagram going on there.
More giant surfboards.
More JoJo Siwa, like, we're gonna have
Yeah,
all
I
of
think we
this on
should. I think
Survivor.
we need the Sia's out. We need the JoJo Siwa award
Yeah.
for
Yes.
whoever's like the best. I don't know, whoever's the best dancer on the season, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
the way the show is formatted now, where we get everyone's backstory, Sia would have such a hard time giving out any money to anybody. Like, how do you select anybody now? You're like, well, I was going to give it to Omar because look at how he's acting, and he gets to pray
Mhm.
out here, and he seems like he's a great guy. He's not wearing any pants, but oh, there's Marianne, we love her, and then it's like, oh, but Mike seems to like everybody, we like him too, and oh, whatever happened to that Jackson guy? Like, we need to go find him and give him some money. Like, Sia's gonna go broke trying to fund the new era of Survivor with a monster who's clearly money hungry.
That way you simplify it with dancing. I think
Yeah.
we've seen far less survivors dance so far on this season. So that really
Mhm.
narrows the pool to 0 at the moment.
Yeah.
Have we
I'm
seen
trying to
anybody
think. I don't.
dance?
Well, that's the thing is that everyone is so depleted of calories. It really is like resource management of like, I shouldn't dance, but if I don't, Sia won't give me money. So I guess I have to. It's a real do or die, dance or die.
Yeah.
Is that what could have happened in the tiny town of Footloose? You just deplete resources and then they won't dance
Oh,
instead
I
of just
like that.
outright banning it?
Yeah, if John Lithgow had starved the children of what was it? I think it was Beaumont, Texas.
Boom.
Then they wouldn't be dancing in factories. I'll give you that.
Nailed it. You're welcome.
Ah,
Oppressors.
yes. Beaumont,
Stop.
the Bronze Triangle of Texas. We love it there.
Leon's about to be canceled like Bean Dad for her takes of like, they should starve the children. In
Just
Footloose.
starve people. Why doesn't that work to ban
imagine if-
dancing?
Imagine if he was on Survivor. It's like, oh,
He
thanks for getting us coconuts. He's like, figure it out yourself.
Oh my god. That was such a weird moment in our cultural zeitgeist.
Yeah. Just thinking about it. Yeah. I mean, Rocktroy kind of has Bean Dad energy.
He does have big
Mhm.
Bean Dad energy. So
Big
I've
Dean
been
Dag.
big Bean Dad energy. Detective Bean Dad energy.
Yes.
I've been paying attention to I love when there are subtitles and it like not during like tribal council or anything. I mean obviously that's helpful, but I look for when the editors intentionally subtitle people. And so far I've noticed both Jonathan and Roxroy have gotten the subtitle and then the opposite happens. So like in this episode, when Tori gave back the immunity necklace, Roxroy goes, "Adios, amigo." And Tori does not go home because she wins immunity. Jonathan had one also where it was when, I think it was in the second episode, where he says, "Oh, we got to get that," talking about the fishing reward. They do not get that. I don't know if
Oh.
it's a theme of this season, but I'm
So,
kind of
okay.
into it.
So when Jeff is like introducing a reward or like taking the immunity necklace back, if someone is subtitled saying something, the opposite
Yes.
will happen?
Yes, I think so.
Mm.
I'm going to start paying attention now more intensely,
Mhm.
but it's something I noticed in this episode.
Yeah, let's talk
Yes.
about this episode. I would say it was probably my least favorite episode, but like considering the strength of the season, I think that says something that, it was the most relatively straightforward. I will say though, I guess good on the editors or maybe bad on me for being dumb. Definitely thought we'd be talking about a Romeo boot episode up until like 8:59 when that Chanel vote came up like, "Oh yeah, all right, I guess we are going back to Chanel. Sometimes the simplest plan is the thing that they carry forward with."
They spent roughly 7 minutes trying to bury Romeo at the last, few minutes of the show. Like it was just like before tribal council, what can we do? Let's just make Romeo a viable option here, even though his name did not come up pretty much the entire episode. I mean, Dre had mentioned that he was paranoid, but aside from that, we really hadn't gotten a lot. And so they're like, no, we have to build a really good case against him so that we can get rid of Chanel without it seeming too boring. But my favorite thing about Romeo staying was how annoyed High looked at Romeo throughout that entire exchange. It's like, hey y'all, Romeo scrambling. Ugh, why? Why didn't he just let me vote out who I want to vote out? He's like, so paranoid, guy, so dumb, stupid ass Romeo. I was like, Hi, please. Like, he can play the game. It's okay.
You just had this emotional conversation too last episode. I
Yeah.
need you guys to be friends, please.
Right. Like, what are you doing? Stop
Yeah,
it.
it's interesting because I definitely I think the amount that we saw was the editors saying, "Oh, but could not be Chanel," because last week all we heard was Chanel or Tori, Chanel or Tori, Chanel or Tori.
Mhm.
So then it was like, okay, so it's got to be Chanel. So then they need someone new to start to throw under the bus. Marianne apparently is sort of like dropped in terms of if they want to use her as a decoy boot. So really it's been Romeo. But as Chappell mentioned, there are those moments where people seem super clearly annoyed. Dre is like, "Oh yeah, he's been so paranoid. He's got to go." High just rolling his eyes at his actions. So clearly it's coming from somewhere. And like there's definitely this weird feeling with Romeo being so paranoid.
It's really interesting because there's been a lot of discourse, I think, pro Romeo, pro. I don't know how to call it, but like
Promeo.
Promeo, I think is
Yeah.
better. Yeah, this idea of it's okay to be paranoid, it's Survivor. But to your point, either something is going on that we're not realizing, or maybe it's just a matter of the personalities, right? Hi and Drea especially very much give me vibes of like type A, wanna be in control. And so I think the minute that someone is trying to slip out, possibly doing something else, that really sets off that alarm of like, nope, we can't have that. Got to get rid of that. And so I wonder if it's just because they're playing under such a microscope in front of those people, it's much more of like a flagrant offense than maybe playing with other wild cards who are just as paranoid.
Yeah, people were kind of confused as to how Romeo got left out of the big alliance. And I was like, well, I'm not really that confused because we saw when they did the fake merge, Romeo was like, I want to go get the smaller people together and like form an alliance right there. And then we never hear anything else about Romeo being in an alliance after that. I was like, well, if Dre is looking up and Romeo's talking to Marianne and talking to Tori, and she's like, well, clearly he's got something else going on. So let's get the bigger people. Let's get what is it, the sharks or whatever they were called, the lions and the antelope or whatever. Yeah, they're going to go get the lions and the hyenas again. That whole thing is happening where the smaller people, the less, the people who are smaller threats, the people who do not have as many advantages, they just kind of push them all out and they're just getting rid of them one by one. So I wasn't shocked to see that Romeo was on the other side of it, but it was kind of interesting to see the discourse where people were like, well, he can be paranoid because he's not wrong. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's nothing I think it's tough because there's like you guys were saying, there's been a lot of discussion where it's like, well, why can't Romeo be paranoid? And like that's not his fault that he blah blah blah. But also clearly there's something wrong with what he's doing, at least in terms of this group with this group of players, because
Mhm.
it's not working for him. I would look to the Swathi vote out where it was like Tori was clearly on the table there to be voted out. And instead it ended up being this, oh, you're my number one thing that really just tanked her game so hard that she ended up getting taken out. Whereas Tori was coming across consistently as someone that you couldn't trust. And so it's interesting that like when there, it's sort of a similar parallel, but this time Chanel did get voted out, where there's someone who is perceived as untrustworthy continuously, but then someone does one thing that then all of a sudden puts them in a spiral and makes them a target.
Yeah, I think it's very much as it generally is with Survivor, right? It's a rule to just read the room and sort of like go in the direction from a behavioral perspective that everyone else is going in, right? The typical RHAP adage of, hey, if everyone's building the shelter, work on the shelter. If everyone's swimming, go swimming. You don't want to stick out for a bad reason. And so I do think if you are like looking around and the mood is less so running around scrambling and more so like, let's hang out, let's cement a plan, almost like what Chanel was trying to put forward, then maybe that's the thing to do. And again, it just depends on the particular subset of people. Now, that being said, Drea also is running around the island, sticking her hands in jars of rusty water to get advantages. So, like, her hands are literally not clean of paranoia either.
I don't understand how she didn't finish cleaning her arm. Like, she obviously makes an attempt at it. Did someone else come to the water well? Could she not go to like, once you get the majority of it off, you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of like hide it to like get to the ocean. But I don't understand how you end up leaving just big swath of red on your forearm. I mean, I guess she's not particularly detail oriented because I don't get it.
Well, the red didn't bother me as much as I put my hand in this red. I tried to wash it off. Maybe I'm hurrying because people always come to the well, so I have to get out the way. What bothered me was the fact that Tori could look over at Drea and say she's hiding something. Like she's literally sitting there with her hands in her lap, with her bag over her lap, like, oh, nothing. There's nothing here. What are you talking about? What are you looking at? I'm pretty sure Tori saw that before she saw the red. Like she saw Drea sitting there weird and was like, why is she covering herself as if her like pants are ripped or something? And yeah, it was pretty obvious that something was going on. Like Tori is very astute, if nothing else. She was able to pick up on that.
Okay, so Tori's confessional was, I genuinely was concerned that she was bleeding. You, as Drea, you go, oh my God, I think I am. I need to go get medical to take it out. And then you like shuffle with your pants.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a yes and situation of like, and you just like start freaking out and just like start running around screaming about your arm being lacerated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean,
it's the same thing that got high in the first episode.
Yeah, but like you get away with it because people are so distracted by other stuff. Like Drea didn't even try. Oh, what were you doing? Painting? Painting what? My arm? Like what was that?
Like
you didn't even try.
None of the paints are open, right?
Yeah, I really am just convinced that like, no offense, because Drea has been, kicking ass, amassing advantages. She is a terrible improviser. Because last week we have Chanel being like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, I'm going to go to the rocks. And then, it's like, oh, hey, Drea, what were you doing? I was painting. What were you painting? I'm going to go to the rocks. And it's just like, like, you can't just nope your way out of every improv scene.
The Marianne thing too. Remember at Tribal Council, Marianne's like, right, Chanel, you agree with me that Survivor is kind of like this. And she's no. What do you mean though? No, I disagree.
Not. But like, give her a car metaphor. She can do that for days.
She's in the front seat or the passenger seat. But you better have your seatbelt. That's all I know.
So much driving. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. That was so violent.
Do you think Jeff Probst had an awkward road trip situation where he's like, it's like when you're picking the people to go on a road trip with, it's like, did you ever face that situation, Jeff, where they were like, oh, we can only take 4 people, so I'm sorry, Jeff, you're not going to be able to come with us to Disney World?
Liana.
Maybe when he was driving he moved.
He didn't move from Kansas to Seattle when he changed himself.
Yeah, yeah, Wichita to Seattle. Yeah.
Liana, who would be in Jeff Probst's like car for the road trip? Because we know like he loves Tyler Perry, so it's like him in the front. Tyler Perry's probably in the passenger seat. Who else is in the car?
He's got to leave an open space for when Survivor Man shows up, if at all. So you got to
Like
have at least
Elijah?
one open seat. Yeah, I mean, you never know, right? So you got to set that aside. So let's assume it's like a 5-passenger car that leaves 2 open seats. Do we think he's taking Mike White if he's taking Tyler Perry?
And it's interesting because I think there has to be one seat open for either Boston Rob or Cochran, but not
Mm.
both. If you remember back in the day, Jeff was a little bit of a proto Uber driver for Cochran, driving him around places in the greater California area.
Yeah. Does Colby get completely kicked out of the car at this point? He's not he's not getting a
Oh
seat.
yeah. Ever
Yeah,
since
yeah,
Heroes versus Villains, like Colby is the Marianne situation. I'm hanging alongside.
I think it's Boston Rob. If I had to make a guess for that last slot, I just feel like he still holds such a place in Jeff's heart.
Maybe Mayim Bialik.
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to think about like, is there a more reputable modern day? Because Mayim Bialik was so 2012. Is there like another one who is more famous? I mean, because we haven't done a reunion in a while, right? Like, we don't know if there are any celebrity Survivor fans.
Oh crap! Jack Harlow on Twitter. Jack Harlow
There we
and Jeff Probst are basically in a relationship.
Oh.
How did we miss it? Okay, there it is. Jack Harlow is
Jack Harlow has the aux cord. Like, he's playing.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
No, it's Cochran. Cochran's like, oh, all right. I don't know how I ended up being the DJ, but all right.
Oh my gosh, the Survivor clout. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a road trip that I don't want to be a part of, but I'm excited for
Same.
Jeff.
Better bring a seatbelt.
Definitely. Yeah.
That was another thing. That metaphor, I know it elicited a lot of reactions in the moment. It didn't make a lot of sense, to be completely honest, from like our perspective.
Right. What was she trying to say? Like, if you don't have a seatbelt on, you're going to get an accident.
Yeah, sometimes you need to let someone else drive, or you better wear a seatbelt. Like, what?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you're driving, sometimes you're wearing a seatbelt. If you drive, do you not have to wear a seatbelt? Because I feel like if you're driving, you should still be wearing a seatbelt.
Preferably, it would be nice, but some people don't believe in preventive measures when it comes to their safety. Some people don't like to do things that will later save their lives, and so I wouldn't be shocked if other people in the tribe felt the same way.
It's the whole chaos of it all, I think, right? Like the living on the edge. Oh, you're not willing to take your shot, and so you're just like you're living on the edge. You know what I mean? You're just scrambling.
Yeah, all you need is one shot, but you just won't take it because you're like, what if I put my seatbelt on and something happens? So like, I get it, I understand. I personally don't subscribe to that. I'm putting my seatbelt on all the time. I'm taking my shot, taking multiple shots, but
right.
I get it. I hear them. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a living in chaos, and I think when you don't wear your seatbelt, that's what you do. You live in chaos. You got to follow those rules.
And then, ironically enough, Hai is the one who's saying, like, better put on a seatbelt, and he's Mr. Control, right? Got to keep all my ducks in a row.
Exactly. See, that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Just like the hokey pokey, absolutely. I can't wait for Jeff to be like, all right, so let's talk about the hokey pokey. Like, what step is everybody doing in the hokey pokey, and what does that say about where you are in the game?
That's how you win the C award. You have to do the hokey pokey and tell yourself about. That's the dance. Yeah. Forget the meche. This is the new stuff.
Oh my God, that's gonna be Drea when she plays all of her advantages. It's like, I put my vote steal in, I put my idol in, I put my amulet in, and I shake them all about.
That would help with jury management if they're really angry about, like, you booted me with 4 advantages, but you did do a nice nostalgic ditty while you haven't. So take all my votes, please.
Much like peanut butter and jelly, it reminds me of home.
It's home. It's good. It's peanut butter and jelly. All right, let's make a bet right here, right now. How many advantages will Drea use out of her 4 by the time she's voted out or wins the game?
Oh my God. 0.
She has the amulet, she has the extra vote, she has the idol, she has knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power is definitely getting used, right? Like, you just have to at this point because she's so advantage hungry that you would just think that, like, if I can use this to get someone else's, I have to do it.
Okay. So, yes, that's a good point because I was thinking what she's good at is finding advantages. She's not particularly good at using advantages or thinking about how to use advantages or strategizing about how to use advantages. It's like the only times we've really ever seen it is like the one time with Romeo where it was I can't vote, but you can use my extra vote. So it's like you're voting for me. Other times, I guess it's been as like a bargaining chip that she's used it. So I just don't really, I just don't get the sense that she would know how to use these tools. But as Chappell says, well, the knowledge is power. That's about acquiring advantages. And if that is her jam, then she could go for that.
Yeah, she's very much someone who like wins the lottery, but like has no financial resources to be like, okay, what do I do now? And so like, no investment happening. So just like burning a hole in her pocket, or she's like buying pinball machines or something. But I mean, so we're at what, like the final 10. All these things expire at the final 5, so she only has a few rounds left to use all these things anyway.
I guess there's no reason why she can't use multiple. Obviously, the amulet.
The amulet she has
how
to
do you
use
get
in
somebody
conjunction with
out,
other
though?
people.
Right.
What? Yeah. How do you get her out though? Like she has so much crap. Like how do you even get someone like Drea out of the game? Like if it looks like my name is even on the chopping block a little bit, I'm like, hey, do you have an idol? Yeah, I know you have an idol because I heard you say a stupid phrase. Give it here. You know, it's like, well, I don't. It's like that's fine because I got my own. You know, like at what point do you get Drea out with all of this stuff? I'm thinking that maybe it's the do or die thing, you know, where she just happens to look up on the wrong flip and like now she's gone with all 17 of her advantages.
Wow.
Oh no.
That would suck.
Wow. Oh my God. I didn't even think about, oh my God, Chappell. I didn't even think about that as a possibility. That would be, that's like the balancing of the Survivor karmic universe when it comes to the advantages. It's like, well, you got 4 advantages, but you also got this one and you're out of the game. Wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Could she use her steal to steal one of the other boxes, like the knowledge is power, to be like, Jeff, I want that box.
Mr. Box, do you have an advantage in you?
Yeah. And then if she asks correctly, then she gets it.
Or if they say no, then it's like, okay, well, I know not to pick that one.
Yeah, exactly. You use it beforehand to narrow it down.
I mean, that would be interesting. Certainly a way to break do or die, which I'm not particularly mad at. But it's an interesting point that like it will take maybe an active Survivor god to be able to do this. And it's really interesting though, Liana. Lydia talked to me about this last week, like the karmic justice of okay, like I got voted out due to a twist last time, but I basically survived due to like a like big twist in the 3rd round. So it's like, you know, things happen for a reason in a manner of speaking.
Right. Yeah. It kind of, it'll balance itself out in the end. I don't know. I feel like Drea is the type of person that you could potentially blindside. She seems so well positioned right now that seems a little bit impossible. But with the split tribal this next week, I think that could really throw things into chaos because I think this big alliance is way more fragile than it wants to think that it is. And so by having to go to the split tribal, I think that could definitely throw a wrench into plans and it could put Drea at the bottom and potentially lead to her blind side.
Yeah, I would imagine. I think if they might stick together, if they had congealed, right? If this wasn't a split vote, I would say they'd maybe get rid of Tori, and then like naturally things would split apart. Because right now Tori is just not only someone that people don't want to work with, but is now also so big of an immunity threat that it really is like, okay, now we have 2 reasons to get rid of you. We're absolutely going to do it. And so I would imagine she would have been the last of the so-called outsiders to get discarded. And even with Romeo, I feel like then we start to get to a point where it's like, oh, I don't want to necessarily get rid of Romeo, and then things would splinter. I would not imagine with how just like messy these players are, how much they would have really stuck to this ironclad 8-person alliance at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's fair. And you know, with Tori being an immunity threat and this next week being the split, she's got like a 1 in 5 chance of winning immunity this time though. Like this is the best odds she's ever had. So I wouldn't be shocked if this is another one where she manages to win. Now after that, I don't see how she sticks around any longer unless she doesn't just win out. But there's a world where, we're probably losing, we're losing 2 people this week, but there's a world where Tori's not one of them. And so I wonder if this is the time where you get Jonathan, who is probably immune, or if Jonathan's immune, who's next? Like, who's the next biggest challenge threat? Maybe Lindsay might go here. I think there's some wiggle room where if you're just looking at who could win the most immunities, and the 2 biggest threats are clearly off the board because they're going to both have immunity at that point. Drea has 17 different advantages. I mean, is this where we lose Lindsay, who we've barely seen any of?
I think that Tori being targeted is very much my enemy of my enemy is my ally kind of situation. And so it's not just because she's an immunity threat. I think also because people are really nervous for her.
Right.
And because you could make an argument where maybe she doesn't have to win out if she was a little bit more trustworthy, if she could use this time to get in people's good graces, which is what she tried to do this week by voting with the majority. I just don't know if she's going to have enough time, or her reputation precedes her, where that's just irreparable. Whereas someone like Romeo, who yes, is sort of a target at the moment, but maybe doesn't have that same reputation, and maybe could slide back into the fold once things start to open up a little bit. Jonathan's a really interesting one because he went from having his name on the chopping block as a potential option to not being mentioned at all whatsoever, despite being available to take out. Maybe it's a situation where, okay, well, he's not winning any of the individual immunities, so like, why do we care? Or people don't perceive him as a threat, or he's just well insulated enough that no one wants to target him.
Yeah, it's the whole James Clement situation, right? Of like, looks big and maybe he's big in team challenges, but not in individual challenges. But speaking of preconceived notions, I find it so interesting as we segue to talk about this week's boot in Chanel, because we talk a lot about how when it comes to the end game, right, not a lot of people consider the pre-merge and what people did in the pre-merge. This season seems to be one of those rare exceptions where a lot of stuff that happens in the pre-merge, those chickens come home to roost, damn, and then some. And such is the case of Chanel, who I really, truly feel like after that vote, that very first Vati vote, like, she was never getting the trust back of anybody. And that vote coming back onto her really was just sort of like the culmination of everything she had been doing, starting with that time she took to Chappell Island. That being said, Chappell Chanel was a gamer. She was someone who played a large role in those first few episodes. Were you disappointed with what she brought to this season?
No, I wasn't disappointed in her because, like you said, it was that one thing. It was just this snowball effect of she risked her vote and she shouldn't have, or at least she should have told Omar straight up, like, I'm going to risk my vote. Please, I'll screw this up for both of us. I got to do it. But she says in her exit interviews that she just wasn't clear about it enough. So that is what led to her demise, because had she, she was playing the middle. So had she had a vote, she could have got an extra vote, voted, everybody would have been fine. The very next vote, they could have got rid of Daniel and life would have been fine. But she had to expose herself as somebody sitting in the middle. And then at the very next time, when it was like, well, it could be her if Daniel plays his shot in the dark, she had to vote for somebody. I guess she could have just played her shot in the dark and then just eliminated that altogether. That probably would have been the best move, just like take your vote off the table altogether. But maybe she was going to need it later on. Spoiler alert, she doesn't even use it when she goes home. So I don't know what else she could have done. Once the ship wheel thing happens, I think that throws such a wrench in your plans, because people who've watched this season for 20 years at this point, or like 40 seasons, they don't know that Shipwheel Island is even a possibility. So they don't know to be afraid of something like this. They don't know this could take your game. 5 years from now, people are going to look back and be like, yeah, that was so dumb. It was so stupid. Like, why would you fall for Shipwheel? We never do Shipwheel. It's a Shipwheel curse. But right now, it's fresh and new, and she doesn't know anything about it. So I think that's really where this all started. This is why I would never play Survivor, because this is not the Survivor that I fell in love with. I fell in love with, like, maybe 3 people are playing Survivor and the other people are on a camping trip. This is some different stuff. This is the monster, and I'm terrified of it.
I love this idea of Chanel being like, as long as I don't need to vote, I'm okay. And so every tribal council is her trying to find an excuse not to vote.
Look, it's what Omar did. Omar didn't vote, and they're like, maybe Omar's at the bottom with us. Who knows? And he's like, yeah, who knows? So just saying, she could have taken the blame off for one more time if she had just kind of like sat that one out. Because people keep getting mad at her for voting for Mike, but what did you want her to do? Just go? Just risk it? I don't know.
Yeah, so this is really interesting because I almost kind of feel like Chanel was a player who's willing to take a lot of risks and make a lot of really big moves. It just so happened that like none of them worked.
Yeah.
And I don't like that's the tough part about playing in an org or playing in Survivor is that there's so many things you don't know and there's so many things you can't predict and you think you might be making a cool move that's absolutely going to work out, right? Because like let's say they vote High splits the vote in that very very first tribal council and they successfully are able to get Lydia out, right? Then none of this happens. And so it's just sort of like, yes, that first domino was knocked over when she chose to risk her vote, but then she also went along and like poked more dominoes down to like make sure that they kept falling as like she was playing the game. And it was really fun to watch, but obviously it was not successful for her.
Yeah, so you mentioned this offhandedly, Liana, when you're playing org, and I think that is like ding, 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 right on the marker as to Chanel, played this like she has a lot of experience with these other social strategy games, and she outlined this to me as well. I think she outlined it more so as like a logical versus emotional argument, but I think it's more so just like the people you play Survivor with are not the people you play an org with.
Yes.
You have maybe one or two of those people on a season. Unfortunately, Chanel didn't get to work with You Better Wurtenberger because he seems like he is very much in that camp. But otherwise, like, you think Mike is going to be on a computer being like, oh, I got to work on my I Love Money season 9 tonight. I'm getting on the Zoom for that. Like, no, he has a family. He has a life that he tends to. And so those are different people to deal with. And I think the way Chanel very, like, objectively and almost unemotionally approach the sense of the numbers game and like risk versus reward just didn't play as well for people who felt personal relationships or lack thereof with her. And so it is sort of like an interesting Aesopian fable for some people who like are really entrenched in these games of it teaches you a lot of great stuff as to like number crunching, but you still have to know people at the end of the day.
Right. She wanted him to get over it. She's just like, he's so emotional. Why hasn't he gotten over this? It was 10 days ago. I tried to vote him out and take $1 million out of his pockets 10 days ago. Get a grip. Get a grip. And it was like, Chanel, maybe go be his friend. Go be nice to him. And maybe he won't want you out because I don't think he ever forgave you for that. That's the thing. Like, yeah, he could move on from it. He could probably forget that it happened, but he didn't forgive you. So he still wants you out because you wanted him out first. And I mean, it was self-preservation. You didn't have a lot of other options, but it still happened. So you got to go make nice. I just don't think she was thinking along those lines. She underestimated them.
And I really think it was Mike's vendetta that just was that nail in the coffin because he just wouldn't let it go. He was like, no, she needs to leave.
Yeah, and well, it's interesting because he's someone who really seems to have that old mentality of, I'm loyal to the soil. Like, if you cross me, you're dead. And like ever since that one vote for her, almost Abby Maria style, he held this grudge towards her. And I guess we'll look in retrospect as to whether that was the right decision to make, considering that from our perspective, High seemed to be the one to turn things against Romeo. But yeah, at least from our perspective, it very much seemed like Mike had a big axe to grind, and he was finally able to just like chop her head off to really make up for, as you said, those 10 days that he's just been stewing about it.
Yeah. She acts like it was like her and Mike had a final two. Like this sounds like a conversation we should be talking about from maybe Lydia and High. They were clearly a tag team. He voted her out. And now she's like, I didn't know he would react like that. Or I didn't know he felt that way. This, that, and other. But Chanel's like, why would Mike vote me out? I only tried to vote him out. Like, what are you talking about? We could have gone to the end together. Like, no, he has no reason to believe that. There's other people who have not voted for him, who say they want to play with him. And you're like, I mean, I could play with you if it benefits me. But if not, I could vote for you. And that's it. Like, she could have picked somebody else. She could have voted for High. She could have voted for, anybody. She chose Mike. And so, yeah, you lost him.
And that's the thing. Mike is, I mean, what we've seen, he's such a people person in the sense that, like, for him to work with someone, very clearly, he needs to be able to, like, bond with them or stare at them while they do things that are sort of private, but he's going to just sit there and stare at you while you do it.
That's social game in a nutshell, right? Look at other people while they're doing their private things.
Yeah, exactly. Do you see someone praying? Go stare at them. Go sit in the shelter.
That's why they often say NSA agents make the best Survivor players. They're used to spying on people.
It's just like, you're having an intimate moment with God. Let me come sit next to you. Like, I'm just having the thing. I'm just praying over here. Oh, okay. Let's. Can I
So what are
just
you saying?
what?
What are you saying?
Yeah.
What are you praying for?
You pray a little bit louder. Omar's like, you could just over there. Just sit over there across the
A
room.
little
He's like,
further,
oh,
a little further.
yeah. Just
No, a
could you
little
just
bit
get out of
further.
earshot? I was like, but I think we're bonding. This is a social game, right? Like this is what we do. It's Survivor. Crazy.
Now that being said, I love what Chappell brought because I need someone to bring that like DJAF messness, right? I need someone to be in there and be like, yeah, I don't care. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm seeing this with Drea as well. It's fantastic to have in a game that is incredibly emotional. Like it is nice to throw in people there who have those personality types of being a bit more hardened, of being a bit more like cerebral and game focused in that way. Though again, I think it's a bit incorrect to just say like Hai is emotional, considering that like he is one of the gamier people, I would say, in this season. So I'm incredibly happy for what Chanel was able to bring because, if anything, at the very least, her decision at Chappell Island sprung off that entire freaking mess that happened at that Jenny Tribal Council, and I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had really high hopes for her. So
Oh no.
okay. So yes, okay. Well, I'll just read what I had. So I had her making the jury.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Okay.
said that although she isn't the apex of power, she's able to stay in the good graces of those making strategic decisions, which allows her to successfully push the flow of the game while staying under the radar. And then I said, while others are overwhelmed with all of the new twists and advantages, Chanel is able to use her experience playing online reality games to navigate the new era of Survivor. But ironically, she's taken out at the final 6 due to some type of advantage get-in situation, a la Suri in Game Changers. I said her ally would be Lydia and her enemy would be Mike.
Okay, nice. Well, I guess
There's some stuff there.
yeah, I'm trying to think. Did she didn't end up voting for. Well, she tried to get Lydia voted out first, but she didn't vote for her in the time that Lydia actually went home.
I don't think so. Yeah, there's a lot. Look, I had this like very clear vision of what I thought that she was going to bring. And I kind of feel like her gameplay would have if all of those decisions worked. You know what I mean? Like she was trying to be that person. It just didn't work out for
So
her.
if every decision she made went the exact opposite way in that parallel Futurama-esque parallel universe,
that's right.
Then this prediction would have been accurate.
That is correct. In the Survivor multiverse, somewhere out there, this prediction was correct.
So I also had high, not the person hopes for Chanel. I also had her making the jury. She found the first idol of the season, which causes the rest of the tribe to join up against her. Then she finds another idol, which she uses at the merge to save herself and get rid of Hai. Mike becomes her enemy, then her closest ally, and she uses her idol on him to no effect. And she gets voted out easily after winning a bunch of challenges. I think I have like 2 immunity challenges, 3 reward challenges in here.
Oh my God.
Her closest ally was Mike. Her enemy was Mariah. Remember Mariah?
Yeah.
And the randomly drawn quote I have for Chanel is, "The game looked fun, but all the pieces were missing."
That fits somehow.
It's a
it does because like she's trying, but just her votes are missing. The pieces are missing. The vote split missing.
The idols were missing. The advantages Liana talked about were missing. The immunities that Mike thought she was going to win are missing.
Yeah, the reward
missing.
challenges
It's missing. It's missing. It's all missing.
It would have been fun, but the pieces are missing.
I don't know if there's a winner for this one, y'all. It was like all over the place.
Right to the bottom.
Yeah, she definitely did not do any of the things y'all named. She was cool with Mike, and she wasn't cool with Mike, so that's a point in both of your favors. She tried to vote out Lydia, but she didn't vote out Lydia, but Lydia went home. I don't know. I get it. Listen, I think everybody's a winner here. I think we did it. You know,
wow,
we did it.
I love this. We are all millennials here, so thank you. The participation trophies are greatly accepted.
Had to do it. Yeah,
love that.
All right, well, let's get into our game here this week. Now, in honor of Chanel, I turn to another Chanel, Coco Chanel, if you will, as we turn to the world of fashion, as we do our seasonal game here on the B&B of Buff or Snuff, our Survivor wardrobe breakdown. I don't know if this feels out of the ordinary, but for whatever reason, I feel like the Survivor 42 wardrobe pops as much as its cast does. I feel like there's been a little bit more talk about the wardrobe than maybe some of the other seasons prior.
You mean like on the internet?
I mean, not in person.
Well,
Not
maybe
on the
Jeff's like
island.
breaking the fourth wall. He's like, have you guys noticed so-and-so's shoes?
So, you noticed last season, I wore sneakers to tribal council. I'm doing it again. Next season, maybe I won't. Hey, losers, look at my feet next time, okay? See you this fall, dumbass.
When he moved to Seattle and he became a new person, his wardrobe changed.
Exactly. You had to throw out the sneakers and make way for the shoes. I don't know, for whatever reason, I think people have been like flagging the wardrobe choices. I should note that it feels like in both 41 and 42, they are given multiple wardrobe options, which makes me very happy. Like, fortunately, they still can't give them freaking bathing suits thanks to shotgun riding Tyler Perry, but at least like they can give him multiple changes of clothing.
It's very weird because we're so used to them being in their skivvies all the time. To see these people dressed like they're going to the mall on an island is very weird to me. Like specifically like Lydia and her bucket hat. Ma'am, this is Survivor. This is Survivor. Why are you wearing a bucket hat? Like, where were you going? You know, like she looks like she's just like going to Coachella. It's like you're about to go be on an island for a while. Isn't Jonathan wearing like a backwards snapback baseball cap? Like, what is happening? When did they start dressing like this? I don't remember.
Jeff, when I went to Lids right before coming out here, I said this would be the perfect hat for Survivor.
Yeah, we've seen so many people just kind of like wearing a buff as an outfit, and then you have Mirai and like a leopard Kangol. You know, like it's just too much going on here. What's happening?
Well, I mean, we kind of talked about this at the beginning of the season where we were like, these are normal looking people, for better or for worse. So maybe they were like, well, we have to dress them appropriately.
Yeah, but it sort of is like dressing them the way like an Old Navy commercial dresses them, right? Of like, here are normal people. Let's put our normal outfits on these normal people. And it's a very much an exaggerated version of what they would actually wear in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we got
your performance fleece, you know.
We got some pics here that we can utilize for some images to base off of here. So we're not just describing it in the audio way. If you want to follow along, you're not watching the video, you can go to bit.ly/bufforsnuff42. That's bit.ly/bufforsnuff42. Okay. Let's start with probably, I would say, the most talked about wardrobe piece of the Survivor 42 cast because, I mean, you can't avoid it. It is an emu in the room, if you will. It is Omer's shirt, which is just giant and staring at us and the players by proxy. Liana, do we buff or snuff Omer's shirt here?
Okay, so I don't know where he got this shirt, but I had a shirt that was from Walmart, and it was that same, it's not really tie-dye that the orange background is, but it like kind of, it was like that pattern,
sort of.
But it was blue, and it looked exactly the same in terms of where the eye and head placement was, but it was a wolf's head.
And wait, were you a wolf shirt girl?
Okay, I got it ironically for a USA themed party, and then I continued to wear it because
a USA themed party.
I'm confused. Why? What did the USA have to do with wolves, Liana?
I don't know. It was like American.
American wolves.
Those American wolves.
You know, the classic American wolves. It's, you know, I don't know, whatever. I can't explain most of my decisions that I've made in college or throughout my life. But anyway, it reminds me of that. And I very much get those flashbacks whenever I stare at it. And I'm kind of obsessed and I love it. And it's so iconic on this season.
What do you think, Chappell?
So Omar's outfits have been very interesting to me just in general, because we've seen multiple, like all of his wardrobe, and it's all animal related, right? So the emu shirt, I think he had like in the press photos, he had like maybe like a toucan on his shorts. There was like something else on a shirt that he was wearing.
Yeah, he had like a Hawaiian shirt that I think had some sort of bird on it as well.
Right. There was like a flamingo on his orange button down. He doesn't dress like this all the time. Like, we know he's a veterinarian, but he's not exclusively wearing
We
bird
know
themed
that for sure.
outfits. Is he?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, if I worked at McDonald's, would I always wear shirts that have burgers on them?
At least the golden arch on there, at the very least, like for Mike, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. He seems like the type of guy that's just super passionate and driven about what he does. And so maybe that's the reason why he's going for this. Or maybe this is with the whole metaphor. You know how Tori said, "Oh, I'm going to wear blue to throw people off." Omar was like,
Mhm.
"I'm going to dress in birds." And that's going to throw people off. I
I mean,
don't
he did
know.
say he wanted to play like a pigeon, right? But actually be an owl, so he's just throwing all the birds out there. Now, that being said, this creature is scary to me.
Mhm.
I do not want it staring at me. And it very much implies Omar to be like, my eyes are up here. But I don't know if I want to like join up with somebody who is wearing a shirt that might kill me in my sleep if I look at it the wrong way.
That's interesting. Like, I wonder if it's a deterrent in some way. We need to do the study. Where's Gabby? We have a study to do. You take half the people, you dress them in these shirts, you bring people in, or you have the same person with or without the shirt, and you see what the reaction is. Because maybe the scary emu is impeding. Is it an emu or an ostrich? Do we know?
An emo.
An
I
emu.
think it's an emu,
Okay.
yeah. I think the emu
Mhm.
has more of like the hot topic look. An emu is a hot topic ostrich.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, yes.
About to get like a
Mhm.
DM from Omer being like, what are you doing?
I
You are
don't-
besmirching my work and my wardrobe.
No, he'll be fine. Because the emu apparently is like the Canadian equivalent to the wolf, right? So the wolf was
Oh yeah.
American, and so the
Mhm.
emu shirt obviously is signifying that he's Canadian, Canadian power. You
Okay,
know,
there we go.
that's
It
what this.
all makes sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
I buff this. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta buff it. Gotta buff
I
it.
You gotta buff it. As frightening as it may be,
Mhm.
the fact I also love the audacity of the fact that it's the only thing on the shirt, right? That it takes up like it takes up probably a good, I don't know, 2 feet of mass is just like
Mhm.
this giant emu face. Like, that is bold. Bold to say. And it also seems like it's doing okay. It hasn't really dirtied yet. This is not Dr. Mike's shirt that just completely changed colors by the end of it. If Omer sits there at the final tribal council, you better bet he's going to be wearing this shirt, staring down the jury with those emu eyes.
Mhm.
Again, good or bad strategy? I guess we'll find out. My
Now,
eyes are up here.
Chappell, I had to bring in this next one because you have some personal history with this. Can we talk about Omer's choice of bottoms or lack thereof?
Okay. Yeah. So Omar and I don't know if y'all know this, but we've been having a very public Twitter beef about his lack of pants. Personally, Omar feels like he's giving big Donald Duck energy by not having any bottoms underneath his shirt. And so we did a ranking, he and I said, well, obviously in first place, you would have Winnie the Pooh. And
Mm-hmm.
then you would have Omar and then Donald Duck. Now, Omar did not take this kindly at all. Like, he was very upset about this. And then he began to drag me on Twitter for my opinion about his outfit. Now, I just want to be clear that Omar is incorrect. He could never be Winnie the Pooh. He could never. But he told me on Twitter, Christopher Robin is a narcissist and Tigger is worse than Joey from Friends. Rabbit is the
Wait,
king.
why are we
He,
comparing Winnie the Pooh
he
characters to Friends
Because
characters?
he's clearly Winnie the Pooh. And I don't know why he threw Tigger under the bus and said he was worse than Joey, but this is the type of person Omar is. So for me, pantless Omar with his owl legs, I cannot. I can't do it. I gotta snuff this, y'all. Just on GP. Omar is cool, but I am completely against this comparison.
I don't even know what I'm buffing or snuffing at this point. I support Chappell, so I
Thank
will
you.
buff it also. I'm not a huge fan of the Donald Ducking look, like in general. So, I'm inclined to buff this, especially because to snuff it, because I already buffed the shirt. So I'll snuff the whole look as the
Mhm.
ensemble.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like, to do it is one thing. I think to have the gumption to say you are better than childhood darling Winnie the Pooh, like,
Mhm.
you are reaching into the wrong tree for honey, sir.
He's
Or,
gonna
I don't
pull
know,
out
to
his
make a
hand.
Friends comparison, you're entering the wrong coffee shop, I guess. Tigger is worse than Joey from Friends is one of the oddest sentences I've heard in all my life.
That's like if you put it into an AI. That's what an AI would generate.
It's for the Mad Libs that you all do on the
Yes.
B&B,
Oh my God.
But that's the thing. Omar doesn't respect me in his shows. How dare you? How dare you? You hate on Tigger, but you're dressed like Winnie the Pooh. Get a grip, Omar. I'm sick of it.
Now-
I gotta snuff this.
Now that being said, I think his legs are better than the owl's legs. The owl's legs look odd to me. I don't know. Do you think this is like a photo that he took, or do you think he found this photo?
Oh, the owl?
Yeah.
No, he took this picture. Like when the episode dropped and he saw his legs, which I mean, fetching legs. They very much are fetching legs. But I think he saw the legs, saw the screenshot, and thought, you know what? I'm a vet. I have the perfect thing for this. And he reached over and grabbed his nearby owl, not to be confused with the owl from Winnie the Pooh. And then he showed off his legs. So yeah.
Yeah, the only one good character in Winnie the Pooh is Owl.
He likes Rabbit. Like, sir, how dare you?
No, Rabbit's more like the high character, right? The one that's like constantly persnickety, needs to be in control. Tigger is pure Romeo.
Yeah.
Bouncing around on his tail.
Yeah, just chaos.
Yeah, complete chaos.
Yeah, paranoid AF. But yeah, that's Omar's top and bottom. But like I said, we can buff the top. I can't agree with his assessment of Winnie the Pooh.
His owl skipped leg day. That's all I know.
Yeah, Omar did too.
Yeah, your owl's got celery legs, Owl. Get in the gym. All right.
Jonathan can teach you a thing or two.
Yeah. Let's move on here. Speaking of high, so we clocked this, I think a while back. I want to say like episode 2 or so. Yes. I noticed it during the big like high is a vegan segment. We got a fun little reintroduction of a hit Survivor a wardrobe choice. Something on your socks. We, of course, had the infamous Kid on Your Socks from Aaron from Survivor 39. Now we got, from the makers of Kid on Your Socks, Dog on Your Socks.
I love this so much. I love it because it's like it looks almost exactly the same, except instead of blue, it's green, right? I think that was what Aaron's was blue. But it looks like the same manufacturer, which just really makes me laugh. That there was one person who's like, yeah, I love my son. I really want pictures of his face. And then Hi's like, my dog. That would be me. I'd be like, no, Puya's face is not going on my socks. My cat's faces are going on my socks.
Yeah, I'm very embarrassed because I'm wearing birds on my sock right now.
Oh no!
You and Omar.
Yeah, we're beefing, but we are aligned here.
I'm actually just wearing the pictures of those 2 owl legs on my socks.
Winnie the Pooh on one sock and then Omar on the other. But yes, I'm wearing blue socks with little birds on them, and so I get it. I understand. Yeah, so I will buff the sock choice because it would be something that I would probably wear. And they're blue, so people would trust me.
The question is, do you think that High got multiple color choices for the socks? Because we know that like Tori wore blue, she just happened to end up on the blue tribe. Like, I don't think High knew he was going to be on the green tribe, so did he just happen to have the correctly color matched socks?
Well, don't they tell him what clothes to bring?
Yeah, but I don't know if they say. I don't know if like they don't have other outfit options. You know,
I don't know because Lydia was wearing like the green shorts. High was wearing the green tank top in this picture, I think, and the socks. Omar is definitely wearing like the orange button down and the orange large emu shirt. So I'm thinking that they had, an idea of what color scheme to wear. So he probably just brought the green dog socks. Now, I wonder if he has other color dog socks as well, but he's definitely wearing the green one to tie the look together. The look.
Okay, yes. So custom face socks. Put your face on socks.
Love that slogan. Short, sweet, to the point.
Right to the point. You can do one face. You can do up to 3 faces. I don't understand if that's like on one pair of socks.
Yeah, like 3 different faces, I think, like alternating between them.
Yeah. But it seems like you can order it in a number of different colors. So it's possible that he was prepared and had multiple colors. And then he just submitted all of them.
That does seem very high, I would imagine.
He's prepared. Yeah.
So I guess the question is, does this serve as a good conversation piece, though? Because we know the didactic, the world is split in twain when it comes to dog people versus cat people. Does this help or hurt a first impression when it comes to dealing with High on the Beach?
That's a good question. I mean, is it doing more damage than the emu? The emu is front row and center. It's right there. You're looking down at it. It's giving you the menacing glare. These are dogs. These are puppies. I feel like they got to give you a little bit more comfort than a big ass emu picture.
But I would say if I also compare the dog to the kid, with the kid, it's like, okay, I know where you stand. You have a kid. With the dog, it's like, oh, you're a dog person. Like, you could still sort of have a sketch your own assumption about someone with their kid on their socks of like, are they a cat person or a dog person?
I think there's less negative stereotypes about dog people than there are about cat people, though. Like, I could see that the dog on the socks is, oh, you have a dog, you have an animal lover. Okay, maybe you're a little overbearing, but like, that's cute. You're fine. Whereas I think if you have your cat on your socks, I think then that might have the negative effect, Mike, that you're talking about. As a cat person myself, we are very annoying.
Now, here's the question. Would they allow someone to come on next season with a picture of Jeff Probst on their socks?
Oh, the big pander.
Oh my gosh. It's Jeff on my socks.
Yeah, how do you think he would feel about that?
Would it be, let's say allegedly I was going to New York in a few weeks. Would it be inappropriate to have Puya on my socks? And could I get those socks in before the trip?
Liana, oh my God, wait, let me see how quickly we can custom order them from faceonyoursocks.com.
Oh, yeah.
Send the pic, I'll pay shipping for it. Right, send the pic, I'll pay for it, and it will tie the look together in New York, allegedly. Allegedly. Okay. In case I pop up.
Okay, yeah, just in case. We can think about it. I was also wondering, what if you didn't do Jeff Probst? What if you put an immunity idol image on your socks? Can you play that?
Well, you definitely can't play that.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a sock.
Oh, yeah?
Or
what if it's pictures of a podium on your socks, and then you play the podium as an idol on your socks?
With the little fleur-de-lis. Yeah.
No, here's what you do. No decoration, no fringe. You wear a pair of red socks. And if you get into a situation like Drea, and Tori's like, oh my God, are you playing? Like, no, I'm doing sock puppet. Look at me. I'm Drea. Hi, Tori.
It's me, Socko. Yeah. Okay.
I'm Sock Drea.
Or it'd be easier to hide it, right? You just like wipe it off on your red socks if absolutely necessary.
They're like, oh, of course, Drea's doing her usual sock puppet theater. Of course, there's no red paint on her.
Right. That Drea, she's so wild.
Oh my God, not Drea, the terrible improviser doing sock puppet improvisation. I gotta go over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over the rocks now. All right, let's move on here. You mentioned Lydia. Let's talk about this. I call this her Hunter S. Thompson realness. It's a whole look. It is the glasses. It is the bucket hat. It is the Hawaiian shirt. I guess I have to ask, like, between Big Brother 23 and now Lydia, are bucket hats back?
I think they were back, right? Because it was last summer when Xavier wore his, and then Lydia would have filmed that like before that.
Right before, yeah.
Yeah, so I think bucket hats are out again. But I'm not sure.
I was going to use the picture of Puya with his bucket hat as my socks. Now I don't know what I should do. Are they out or not? Because this is gonna make the decision for us, Liana. Am I doing this or not?
You should still use the one of him wearing a bucket hat. So that doesn't change anything whether or not the bucket hats are in or out.
Gotcha.
Right.
So this is new, Mike, though. Like, when did people start dressing this casually on Survivor? It's so like put together. What happened to the days of you wearing like a blazer, just a blazer?
I think it depends on your career. Like, Lydia really benefited from the fact that she's an artiste, right? She's a bit of like a free spirit in that way, so she could dress however she wants. Like, God help you if you work in an office or you're going to be wearing some like pretty restricting clothing. Nah, Lydia can wear a bucket hat. She's fine. She's an actress. She's probably used to wearing bucket hats all the time, as they do.
Of course, as they do. Her hat, maybe it's just the color, but it gives me like Nigel Thornberry realness.
Yes.
Maybe it's just the color of the vest or something.
Eliza, yes.
Well, she does have the glasses, so.
Yeah. And then what's on her socks?
They look like almost kind of like my blue socks with the birds
they
on them,
Yeah,
honestly.
there's fish on the socks, it looks like.
Yeah. They look very similar to the socks I have on. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I can't tell what they are. Are they fish?
I think they're fish. Also, let me just say while it's at top of mind, this is a head opinion I've held for an extraordinary amount of time. I think Eliza Thornberry is the fuggliest cartoon character in the history of the medium.
You watch Bob's Burgers, and how dare you tell that
I
lie?
know, but like I could get past the reality, their chinless reality. For some reason, I will admit, I really did never watch the Wild Thornberries, and
Because she was ugly.
at least some portion of it was because Eliza Thornberry was pretty fugly.
Oh my god, you're so hateful.
I was very
dare you?
shallow. I was very shallow.
I mean, she's pretty much all cheekbone. Like it's like her face is just like, and she's like got it. Like her head is here, and then all of
Her
this
head,
is just
it looks
enormous.
like a squash with braces.
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, why is her mouth proportionally so low? The
Why?
gap between her nose and her mouth is huge. Like her upper lip.
She's wearing like a turtleneck dress as well in the safari. Like, why is she dressed like this? We're not talking about Lydia, by the way. Just to come
No,
on
we're
the
talking about
record.
Eliza Thornberry. Let's be completely honest here.
Yeah.
Oh
Wow.
my god.
Who would have
Okay.
thought that's what we're gonna do? We're just gonna drag Eliza Thornberry.
Sorry, I'm sorry,
No one is safe.
Eliza Thornberry stands come at me, but like, woof. Back to Lydia. Back to Lydia. I think she pulls this look off well. I always love. I mean, the interesting thing about it is she is one of the youngest cast members, but I feel like between the bucket hat, she reminds me of like Warren Beatty in Grumpy Old Men. Like that's the look that she's giving off right now. She looks at least 3 times her age with this look that she's giving.
No, this is like I feel like very Gen Z. I'm kind of
Is it?
obsessed with it. Yeah. I don't know. Is it? This is what TikTok tells me. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of TikTok.
Right. I don't know. I can't. I'm torn because like it's a cool look, but does it look like she's playing Survivor? Just think about all the images of the people that you've known who played Survivor. In this picture, this person could lead. She could be anywhere. You could have said she went to go check the mail, and like, oh, okay, yeah, that's exactly how she's dressed. She's wearing like her chucks. She's got her glasses on. She legit was like, oh, I put my glasses on because I didn't think we were gonna have a challenge that day. So you just dressed up for the occasion. It's like I thought I'd just get dressed, for the merge. I thought it was cool. Change outfits. These people used to starve and struggle, and not that I want that again, but this is just like so much of a departure from what we're used to.
I love this. I'm buffing it. I don't care if she's starving or not. I mean, she's obviously starving, but she looks fabulous while doing it. Good for her.
Yeah, she looks good. She doesn't look like she's playing Survivor, so I'll take it. So a good buff for me.
I will snuff it just for the fun of it. But I also love the bucket hat. I don't think we've ever seen one on Survivor before. I'm trying to remember. I don't believe so. Because even back when they were like allowed to bring hats and they were more populated, I don't think anyone wore a bucket hat. Can't remember. Maybe Rob had one in the Amazon.
There's got to be one somewhere. I don't know. Maybe this is a task for the listeners. If you can remember a bucket hat on Survivor, we want to know.
Because that's perfect for like catching rainwater.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's so functional. Maybe that's why they wouldn't give one to him.
Well, Mike, you did the outplay for hats, didn't you?
Yeah, and I don't believe that I don't think we ended up picking any bucket hats. So I guess by that logic, there weren't any.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm just like, if I knew about any, I would have picked it.
Yeah. And it's so weird because a lot of Survivor characters were not wearing hats. It kind of had to be, like you said, part of your occupation for you to be able to pull one off after a while. Like Kobe hat was like the cowboy, right? But I remember who was it? Edna, where like she had to make a visor.
Yep.
Why couldn't Edna just bring a bucket hat? Was that not fair? Just let her bring a bucket hat. Jonathan's legit wearing a baseball cap. And not like a Boston Rob style. Like he just got like a baseball cap on backwards. It's just awkward for me. I don't know. But I have to agree with Liana here, Mike. I think you're wrong. You got to buff this one.
Buffkit hat, if you will.
Yeah, buffkit hat.
All right, so let's move on to something. Shout out to Dr. Amanda Rabinowitz who pointed this out, but this is something I've noticed ever since the Swathi Tribal Council. Romeo, who's become a star in his own right, is literally wearing the stars. He is wearing some sort of skyscape on a sweatshirt. There's no like logos affiliated with it. It's just like a blank sweatshirt with stars in the night sky on it. What do you think, Liana?
Oh, I like this. This is something that I think I would wear. This is something maybe Puya would wear.
For a night
Mm.
themed party?
Yeah, for your exactly, your classic college night theme party. I
That's where you wear the wolves for.
right. I think it's cool. I like it.
I don't love it. It's fine. I think it's because like it's so big looking that it kind of looks like he's wearing a snuggie, and so like
Oh,
Survivor
yeah,
Snuggies.
Survivor Snuggies, which should be a thing, not knocking it at all. But I guess because it's blue, it works because he's on the blue tribe. But yeah, for me, it doesn't give me much. And you might lose him in the night, like if he's like out trying to search for an hour or something like that.
Romeo's a floating head. How did that happen?
Right. Like, oh my God, is he bleeding? No, he's just floating. So I don't know if I love it, y'all. I'm not gonna lie to you. This isn't my favorite look from High. I haven't taken a look at High's other wardrobe choices though. I think he was wearing like the red tank top at one point.
Mhm.
But like, was this the best that Romeo was giving us? Because y'all, it feels like a chop to me.
Yeah, I don't know for whatever reason, this is vibes of like, I'm gonna go like smoke a bowl and then just like stare at Romeo's
Mm.
shirt for a while. Like it just
Mm.
feels very placating to me, almost the opposite of Omer's shirt, which feels like it's gonna find my family and kill me. This is
Yeah.
very much like we're gonna have a good time. We're just gonna look up at the stars. Like that is something I very much like enjoy doing to bring myself down from my daily anxiety. So for whatever reason, like this sweatshirt really brings me to a nice place. And I'm kind of obsessed with the fact that there's nothing else on it, that it's just stars. Like someone said, all right, well, we're just going to cover this in stars and sell it to somebody. And Romeo's like, yes, please bring that to Fiji.
Yeah, it is. It is very calming. Maybe Tori was onto something. She just forgot the starscape of it all. She got the blue part, but not the clouds and the stars.
Maybe if I go smoke a bowl and look at it again, I'll feel differently. It's not something that I do often, but for you, Mike, I might have to go and look at it through that lens to see if I can really appreciate that. So you heard it here first. Mike has told me
Yep.
that I need to go smoke a
Yep.
bowl.
Mike Bloom encourages common drug use among all of our
Common drug
listeners
use
of the B&B.
in
Please.
legal states where I'm at, in a very legal state of
Exactly.
wherever is legal. Washington?
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess I'm
Listen,
in Washington.
I'm not gonna be the
California?
Drea. I'm not gonna be the narc in your life and tell you not to
Okay.
do these things. You
Yeah.
gotta do you know?
It's completely legal here in Washington State or
Well, speaking
California.
of someone who might know his way or two around that activity, let's talk about Jonathan. So Jeff made a crack at this most recent challenge of like, oh, Jonathan's looking leaner. And you made this point, Chappell, in like a thread that we have offline, that this is like a tunic. I don't know if the tunic's the right word, but like Jonathan has a shirt that he wore that he is basically now swimming in, much like he does so effortlessly in the water at this point in the game, where it's just his head outside of a sack. So you talked about the cap as well. What is your thoughts about like this sort of like, it reminds me almost of like the 42 take on Brad Culpepper's potato sack from Game Changers.
It's literally a sack. It's a potato sack. But how did he get it this big? Like, this man is huge, and he bought this outfit from some big and tall potato company. Like, I just don't understand why, of all the people whose clothes should be falling off of them, it should not be him. Like the clothes should not have been that much bigger than him in the first place. But he looks like he's wearing the tarp. Like the tribe needed the tarp. He needed to go to, tribal council. He didn't have anything else to wear, so they just went ahead and sewed it up for him in like a tunic style, and here he is. I don't understand why his clothes are so big. Rob has pointed it out, but now it's really starting to bug me that Jonathan is out here swimming in his outfits.
I'd have to go back and look because either he's the incredible shrinking man or he definitely bought these oversized, which was a bad choice. If you're going to go to Survivor where you know that all you're going to do is get smaller, you definitely don't want to buy something that's already like a baggy fit because otherwise, yeah, it is just going to be falling off you by the end.
I disagree because Jonathan obviously sticks out by a country mile. The way you try to, dumb that down is be like, oh no, I'm just a little boy. Look, I don't even fit in my clothes. They're just too big on me. I'm like the guy at the end of Big when he's not big anymore.
Okay, so how about this? How about he gets a giant trench coat and he's like, "Oh, I'm just 3 contestants stacked up in one trench coat."
Jonathan Adult Man,
Yeah.
that's his name.
Yeah, listen, it could happen, right? Just pretend like, oh no, but I'm so small. If I was so big, why would my clothes be big too? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh my gosh. I actually inherently have no problem with the bagginess of the whole thing. It's more just like he looks like he works at medieval times or he's going to the Renaissance fair. Like those are the things that really strike me about this outfit.
You think he has a chalice as well? Like he's like got
Mm.
like a goblet that he drinks out of as well. Like this is if he's doing medieval times, I want him to go all the way there because why are you wearing this baseball cap? What is that doing?
That definitely doesn't really fit the motif, but I could see him really digging into one of those big old turkey legs, like the giant ones, although it would look like a drumstick in his hands because he's so giant.
Mhm.
I would imagine Jonathan gets fired from medieval times after he accidentally throws a javelin through someone's chest. He just goes too aggro. And it's just like, "Rah!" And just someone ends up impaled. It's like, Green Knight, you weren't supposed to do that. Get out of here.
Yeah, after he accidentally murders someone, I could see that being a fireable offense.
Yeah, because he'd be amazing at it, but at the same time, I think that does make him legitimately dangerous at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, he's eating 4,000 calories. Was it 4,000 calories that he's eating a day?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I do that too. Okay, let's just be very clear. I eat 4,000 calories. I don't look like him. I don't know where his is going and where his mine is going, but I just
It's all going into the shirt.
4,000. Right, clearly, because 4,000 calories down to 400 calories, it's got to be unhealthy. I mean, the Survivor is unhealthy, but we should probably be worried about this man at this point. He's going to eat someone.
Yeah, that's true. He might. Oh, in cartoons when they would be starving. Sorry, Mike. I don't want to talk about cartoons again, just in case I might invoke some imagery that could have,
All right, let me get my Sharpie out. I'm going to start saying who's hot and who's not in my cartoon characters.
But when they would hallucinate when they were hungry and they would see other people, it's like, oh, that person looks like an ice cream cone. That's what I'm imagining going on in Jonathan's head. He like looks over at Omar and all he sees is a big emu leg, and he's like,
Yes.
Oh, that's the thing. Don't dress up like an emu because they're gonna imagine you're an emu and they're gonna try to eat you.
Here we go. Word of wisdom.
You
Take
emu.
that, Survivor Academy. We figured out a new rule.
Yeah, don't wear anything that resembles animals or people will try to eat you. It is interesting. I don't know. It seems like the implication is that he also told people about the whole 18 eggs, 9 pieces of cheese thing. Because you didn't realize when they went to Tree Mail, it's like, oh, you're gonna have a childhood meal. He's like, 18 eggs and 9 pieces of cheese. And everyone's like, oh, Jonathan, like, is this one of his openers? Did he use this as an icebreaker?
It's on his Tinder profile too.
Yeah, it just says 18
really
eggs, 9 pieces of cheese.
One Survivor. I just think it's fascinating that he's like, no, normal children meals, not baby giant meals. Like, do you remember eating PB&J? He's like, I don't know what that is. Like, oh, okay, Jonathan. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
my dad woke me up at 3 a.m, gave me 18 eggs and said, eat these and run up a mountain.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like maybe when his dad was abusing him at home, that was the thing that he ate. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. When he says 18 eggs, are we sure like his dad wasn't just like whipping the eggs at him while he was running up the mountain?
Just throwing them up in the air, and he was just like grabbing them, snatching them. I mean, he sounds like a terrifying child, like that. And I don't mean like, oh, there's something wrong with the child. I mean, like, if that kid walks up on you, you gotta go the other way because he was at least 6'3" at 4 years old, at least.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah,
I'm just imagining the preschool photo and Jonathan's head is cut off because he's so tall.
He's like this in the picture, but all you see is like this.
But he also has a full beard.
Jonathan Adult Man. That's his name.
There we go.
All right, well, let's finish things off here. We invoked the name Mariah before, and you mentioned this before, Chappell, but like, we got to go back to this look because we didn't see it at all on the island, but for whatever reason, it shows up in the press photos, happens on the very first day, and like, Mariah was an authentic cheetah girl, and we didn't get to see this at all.
It is giving full cheetah girl vibes. Like I was just thinking about the hat, but now that I'm looking at the rest of the outfit, it fits.
Yeah, she don't want to be like Cinderella, living in an old dusty cellar, right, or whatever they say. Yeah. But I love Mariah. I was so sad that she went out early, but where the hell was she going? Where they're like, okay, put your best mall outfit on and also a cheetah print Kangol. Like go get a beret and then meet us on Survivor. Like, you've seen this show before. Why is this what you chose? What happened?
Yeah,
What
I would
is it?
imagine like the answer as to why we haven't seen this is because it got wet once and then it was done. Like they
Dissolved.
just got rid of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. There's no way because we never see her wearing anything like this again. I had completely forgotten. Like the hat never shows back up. The cardigan, I don't think ever shows back up. So clearly, this was not a very practical outfit on Survivor, which, well, I don't know if she chose or was chose for her, some combination of the two, but clearly not going to work.
Yeah, I would say like when it comes to picking Survivor outfits, avoid the ones that are dry clean only, just as a good rule of thumb. Because yeah, I do feel bad for Mariah here. She had a great look, and like I buff this look, but I kind of have to like snuff it overall for the utility of it. I mean, it lasted even fewer days than she did.
Yeah, I think anything faux fur, you can also go ahead and add that to the list because that just seems not practical. Although, because there's a little bit of a brim on it, it could, if you manage to not get it wet, be practical some point down the line.
I don't know. I just want to know where my good sis was going. Like, I just want to know how they knew you had this outfit in the chamber. Like when they were saying, like, okay, make sure you wear something. Did they go and they're like, oh no, pick that and make sure you grab the beret. Like, bring that. Like, and like I said, I was high on Mariah before the season started, but now I'm looking at the cast photo. I'm like once I saw this, I should have been like, she's not winning because like could your Survivor winner be that casual looking? She looks like she was just like, oh yeah, I just had to stop by Forever 21 with my daughter. It doesn't look like she came to play, and so I don't think that's her fault, but just the picture is so casual. She looks great, but there's no world where if you showed this to somebody, they would think this was on Survivor. It's just not a thing.
And I found that daughter she's going shopping with right here.
Yes.
Yes, her and Lydia. Oh my gosh.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I have this cardigan in a deeper red maroon color. It is not practical for Survivor. It's not practical really to go outside. It's an indoor piece of clothing. It's an indoor shirt. It's not really an outdoor shirt the way it attracts water and humidity and all that. No. It's not going to work out there.
Oh my goodness. Well, that was a very fun edition of Buffer Snuff. We shall see what outfits might be. Look, just because we're doing it now, you don't know what's coming in Survivor 43 when it comes to wardrobe. It might be Naked and Afraid on CBS. They might not even be wearing clothes this time around next season.
That would be an interesting twist. Drop the clothes, keep the immunity idols. I don't know what version of Survivor that looks like, but we'll see.
Could Survivor ever do a Naked and Afraid crossover? I mean, we have enough people who we know people are going on Naked and Afraid. Why not do like one season where like, well, y'all are going to be naked anyway? Is that just is that too risque for CBS or Paramount?
Yeah, Jeff does say Survivor's a family show. I don't know if you could say like, all right, kids, sit down and watch these fully nude people for 42 minutes.
They're blurred. Stop it. There's going to be blurring. It'll be okay.
Yeah,
kids see blur all the time.
Yeah, I gotta start them young, I guess.
How can you appreciate the big fat juiciest asses on Survivor if they're going to be wearing clothes?
There we go.
There you go.
Exactly. All right. So we'll see what happens with Survivor 43 that's what Jeff Probst is warning us about. But Chappell, we'll turn it to you for this last part as we do each and every week. Our guest gets the opportunity to highlight a charity or cause that is outside of the silly and stupid realms of the B&B, incredibly important to the global and national cause. It's all on you this week. What do you got?
Well, I can never figure out which charity to go to for this one. So I went to an app that was started by my friend Lex. It's a crowdfunding app for Black businesses and organizations to have a place to receive donations. So it's called the Give Black app. See, clever, right? It's created for Black people by Black people to simplify giving, donating, and fundraising. And so the Give Black app can donate to causes, businesses that means most to you. Like as a business, founder, brand, you can raise funds 24/7 without spending tons of cash to find your ideal donors and partners. And so it's dope. It should be available in the App Store, but it's also on giveblackapp.com and on all social platforms. Give Black app. So that's the one that I'm pushing today on all the people. Go support my buddy Lex and his endeavors and this amazing app because it sounds like a good time.
Yeah, seriously, shout out to Lex. I'm reading it over. This looks awesome. I'm definitely going to download this as soon as we get off here. Amazing. All right, yeah, so giveblackapp.com or in any major app stores. I think it's on iOS and Android as well. Chappell, pleasure as always for you to come on and just get super silly, weird, fashionista in this case, talking about all things Survivor and beyond, occasional Wild Thornberries talk. You have more podcasts than Drea has advantages at this point, and people absolutely love it, myself included. What do you have currently going on with RHAP, post-show recaps, other networks, other planets, other solar systems?
It's a lot. It is a lot, but Mike, you're very kind. I could never be a Bloom type like I would like to be, where I have just a podcast daily. But I came here to burg the house down, and I thank y'all for inviting me because this was it's kaka. Well, this was the time of my life.
Yeah, we got some wet ass jam. That's for sure.
Exactly. Again, I creamed. But you can find me on Rob Has a Podcast, co-hosting the Nothing But Netflix podcast with Rob Sesternino, where every week we talk about a random Netflix property. Well, hopefully whatever's popping at the time, but sometimes just whatever we find that's on. And this week we had our guest Naomi Calhoun on to talk about Abercrombie documentary called White and Hot, I think, the rise and fall of Abercrombie and Fitch. And so it was a mess, and we had a great time talking about it. On post-show recaps, I'm still talking about The Walking Dead because it will never end. Fear the Walking Dead will never end, and so I'm going to be there until the end of time. And then myself, Mario Forth, and Latanya Starks are talking about the hit show Atlanta on FX on post-show recaps as well. So you can find me in all those places. Doing a couple other guest appearances here and there. I should be on the Big Brother recap this week to talk about Big Brother Canada on Wednesday. And I think that's it right now. Find me on Crossing Streams one day to talk about Winning Time once the season is over. That's going to be fun. But yeah, follow me on Twitter at Nothing But RHAP to keep up with the Nothing But Netflix content, and follow me at Chappell's_show to keep up with all of my shenanigans.
Now, the big question, Chappell, is how much does Nothing But Netflix broach the topic of Netflix's recent news items?
Well, you have to check out the podcast to find out, because we definitely talked about it. You got to check it out. So check out Nothing But Netflix, Nothing But RHAP on Twitter. Subscribe, give us some reviews, 5-star reviews only, because we're sensitive like that. And say some positive things and give us some feedback and tell us what you want to listen to us talk about, because that's what we're here to do. Me and Rob, we'll knock it out. But Netflix, we see you. We see what you're trying to do.
The stockholders are bailing on Netflix, but not on Nothing But Netflix. The fans are not pouring out in droves there. So be sure to check that out in addition to all the great stuff Chappell is doing. Liana, I know it's finally over. You've checked a box. Finally, RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14 has somehow concluded.
It's over. We have one winner of the season. So we somehow managed to not end in like a 5-way tie or something. Yes, so that is over. Beth, Amon, and I all talked about the finale and the reunion together in one beautiful final podcast. So check that out. And then we will be on hiatus for about a month. And then Drag Race is back. And we're going to be talking about all stars, all winners, which is going to be really fun. Some changes to the format. So we're looking forward to all of that coming up at the end of May. And then Puya and I are chugging along with The Masked Singer. We just covered a controversial episode, and we're going to be wrapping up that season in about a month as well.
Wow. All right. Yeah. I believe it's ending, I think, the week before Survivor does.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The finale is a week before Survivor. So gone are the days, thankfully, of like 18 episode seasons of The Masked Singer, which should never, ever be that long. Thank goodness. But yeah, we're covering it all over on The Masked Singer.
Amazing. We got it all covered on RHAP and post-show recaps in general. We mentioned this before, but I have my exit interview with Chanel, which has been out at the time that we are recording this. But I very highly encourage people to check it out. Again, Chanel has such an interesting perspective on the game, especially with how it butts up maybe against some of the personalities she played against. So I thought she gave a lot of great insights there. And then over on post-show recaps, I started my coverage of Barry, which came back for season 3 this past week, had a really good premiere episode with Deidre Lipsikis podcast as well. That's in your feeds at this moment. Doing some stuff with Josh Rigler as well with the Lost Countdown, as well as maybe beginning our coverage of Stranger Things, as well as that clock is gradually ticking down until it finally comes back at the end of May. So a lot of stuff is happening, including on the B&B. Next week, we have an episode coming. One more before we do our big get-together in New York, where Chappell is going to be, wearing, and maybe Chanel will be as well, wearing all the Puya socks. Maybe we'll just get Puya socks and give them out to everybody. Just throw them out into the crowd to wear.
As a family.
Yeah, exactly. So we got one more show before that, though. One more episode. I mean, it's still a big one. We're doing the old split them in down the middle, the old King Solomon twist, as 2 more people are going to be voted out by the wayside. And so we are very excited to welcome back another guest that we were able to welcome last week in for the first time and is making his return. Podcaster, author, creator extraordinaire Justin McElroy is going to be coming back to the B&B to cover this episode. That's going to be an episode that comes a little bit later in the week. Again, much like this one did, we're going to be recording Monday afternoon, so apologies that will not be your weekly taste, but think of it more as a, dessert at the end of your 7-course meal that is a typical week of Survivor coverage here on RHAP. But very excited to get into Survivor once more with Justin. I'm sure he has thoughts about this wackadoo season and these wackadoo people. So if you have any games that you'd like us to play on the B&B, we are always accepting of suggestions. You can write in rhapbnb@gmail.com or use the hashtag RHAPBNB to send them to us. We are very honored for any and all listens and game suggestions that we may get. It's a very creative crop out there, and thank you to everyone who has sent us stuff so far. We are reviewing it. So that's going to do it this week for the B&B. Next week, with Justin McElroy, we say adieu to 2 more Survivor players. Thank you so much for listening. Special thanks to Scott St. Pierre for editing everything behind the scenes, and Will from America for his fantastic theme song. Until next week, we'll check you out at your next stay.